Vincent Hall, and welcome to another episode of Anyone Can Draw, Paint, and Create. If you're watching this on Vincent Hall television, it's the day before Thanksgiving. So first, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving holiday. In keeping with the holiday tradition of Thanksgiving, I thought we would do some kind of a sketch type idea inspired by some of the word that I find associated with Thanksgiving. No, we're not drawing the hand turkey, which we talked about in the last class, but I was thinking of the Horn of Plenty, which is technically a cornucopia. So stay with me here. If we keep the cornucopia theme and the idea of a cornucopia-like existence, it would be a lot of little different things. What better artist to study how they did their drawings than Leonardo da Vinci, who, born in 1452, mastered the idea of sketching in a cornucopia-like style. A lot of his sketches are the minutest little details, and he broke everything apart into pieces or parts of the whole. So all you need for this is a pencil and some paper. We're not going to worry about making a finished drawing. We're going to do quick sketches of one object, looking at it many different ways, really trying to get the essence of the object, trying to show parts of the whole, and then maybe the whole as well. So what could we use for that? You could pick anything you want. It might be a plant you have around the house. It could be some sort of tchotchke that you really enjoy. It could be a person. It could be a photograph of a person or an animal. I found this that I've had in my house since, when I moved to Virginia and took it from my grandparents' home when they had no longer lived there and wanted to get rid of things. So it is, I can lift this up here, this really heavy cast iron of a Boston Terrier, and yes, the paint's wearing off. My grandfather made this little Boston Terrier, this is heavy, a Boston Terrier sculpture from an iron factory that he worked in. He was an core maker in an ore factory, an iron ore factory. So this thing is heavy. He had made it and hand painted it, and I know these were pretty popular when they were making them around the turn of the 1900s and the early 20th century. And they were made in many different places, but he brought this one home for my grandmother. They never had a Boston Terrier, but Betty Ockenreiter, if you're watching, I know you love Boston Terrier, so I picked this one for you. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is looking at this Boston Terrier as parts of the whole. We might be sketching the feet. I'm going to be sketching the face, sketching a back view, sketching a leg, really breaking this down just like Leonardo da Vinci. So let's see how this might work, and I'll see you on the paper side. To look at some of Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbooks to see what I'm talking about parts of the whole. I'm going to start here with the hands because last week we did hands. And as you can see here, if you look closely, he just simply had hands in every single pose. And you could go and explore the idea of doing hands again and just simply move your hand in a lot of directions. The idea of this is to keep everything on one page and to do a lot of overlap. So the sketch becomes the finished artwork, but in and of itself, or the parts of the whole, are just individual sketches. Here we have the idea of a horse, the whole body of the horse, and then lots of different views of the horse's head. Open mouth turned, some finished, some not. And here's the other thing you want to notice. One of the objects will overlap into the other, so they relate. They're not just separate little pieces on the page. Here, even in the hands, one hand goes over the other. So as I draw this little Boston Terrier dog, I'm going to have different views going over the other. Down here, not so much with this small little mammal, but you can see how one will lead into the other. So compositionally, they relate, even though they are a little more scattered than what we were talking about. This one's one of my favorites. It's just several views of the horse, but they overlap where the two torsos connect, the legs connect, they're looking at each other. It's just a beautiful composition. Of course, Da Vinci also was well known for doing the human skeletal system, and you'll find many different sketches that he's done of parts of the human body as well. I think it's time for us to get started on our own Davinci-like sketch assignment. So the object of this is to keep it simple, which means I'm just using one pencil. And notice I don't have an eraser or a blending tool, none of that. We're just gonna go simple and figure it out. And you can do your paper either portrait, long, or horizontal. I'm going to stick with horizontal because it's just simply easier to fit in the frame for video, but well, feel free to turn your paper however you want. I'm going to start by just looking at the dog's face because I like portraits. So I'm just going to go fast, and this is what we call gesture studies, and that's what I would like you to try on this. Go fast. Don't worry about getting things perfect. Just try to get the gist of what you're seeing in the object. Now, obviously, this is not a real-life dog, so there's going to be some caricaturization going on where the iron ore was actually made into the dog, and then I would just taper down to nothing here. So I'm keeping this very simple. Then I can go back in later and add some things. So this is a gesture study, and that's one way to do this. Then what I might decide to do in another part is go into the whole dog. So I might do the whole dog. Where am I going to do him? Down here. But I find space. As a left-hander, it's always a challenge. So for this one, I'm going to make a circle where I want the head. I'm going to come down with the body. And even if you're just doing a plant, I want you to go fast. These are not supposed to be finished, tight artworks. As a matter of fact, if I'm running off the page here, which is fine, I'm going to keep it running off the page and just let it be what it is. Then the head turns here, the ears come back up. Talking to yourself on this is a challenge as you're trying to get the drawing in. And as any artist can tell you, that's one of the biggest issues with drawing is that you're not supposed to be talking. And again, we'll put the eye in here. Notice I'm just doing a lot of quick sketches on the muzzle work. On this one, I might just do a little bit of the idea of where the body is and do some shading. You can do that if you want for some of them. But Davinci didn't do a ton of shading on these. And the shading he did is similar to what I'm doing now. For lack of a better term, it's almost scribbly, which means that there's not a lot of definition of tone and contrast. I'm just trying to rough it in. And this little dog has a collar on. So I'm just going to leave that be, and he has a little curly tail there. Very muscular, and this is all shaded in, and I would leave that go. Now I'm going to turn my dog around and try to study maybe a back leg. So I'm going to turn here, and I'm just drawing the back haunch, almost as if I were Davinci trying to explore the whole approach of pieces of the whole or part of the animal. And just draw that back in, and you can see it's just a leg. I'm going to give a little bit of the tail and how that might go up into the torso, just so we get a sense of where that is. Then I'm going to turn my paper around because not everything has to be facing the same way, because Davinci worked his way around completely. Let's see what I can find here. So here, I'm going to study the face a different direction. I have a completely different face, and yes, now this face is going on a different angle. The idea is on this exercise, as we look at Thanksgiving, to just kind of take a break from all the seriousness of the art that we've been producing and just have a little relaxing time sketching whatever objects you might have lying around and see what you can come up with. So here, let's see, this eye is on this side. I did not realize these Boston Terriers have pretty bulgy little eyes in here. And the nose, little mouth comes in here. And I'm just going to quickly draw in the neck because he has his head turned here ever so slightly. And go back in and then just show a little bit of the chest bone and how that might turn there. Then I can turn my paper around again. And now I'm going to go down and maybe coming from the top here because you can go off the page. And I think it's important to know if you go off the page on one side, go off somewhere else. That will unify your composition. And on this one, I'm going to draw in the feet. Now, it would help if I had a real dog that I could look at to get more of the details. And I do have two, but they are very unwilling participants. So that's why I am using a cast iron sculpture of a dog instead of the real thing. And on this one, again, I might do some of my quick sketch roughing in a shadow just to show where the shadows go for the difference of the dog. Then I think I'll do one more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'll do 2 more because we want to have some basic ones. And on this one, I'm just going to do a study of the muzzle without the whole outside of the face. So I'm drawing in the nose. Now I'm going a little bit slower here because I really just want to work on concentrating on where I see the jowls and the muzzle, and then the eyes that come up from the muzzle on the dog. And these things had the pupils of the dog painted in. So you see, I didn't start with the outline of the dog's face, but now I'm kind of roughing it in. So I tried a different approach, drawing in the head and drawing in the ears from the top of the head. And I'm gonna have this ear overlap that leg, and that's fine because again, it's what would Davinci do, and that's exactly what Davinci would do. He would overlap. And I'm going to leave this one, as we come down here, be more of a contour outline than a gesture drawing. So I'm just gonna let it kind of flow into here, but I'm not gonna finish that one. Now these two are very similar. It's just that this one is all line and this one has more of that scribble gesture structure. And then just to keep things odd numbers, we'll do one more, and this is going to be the dog from the back view, because I have not done these little ears from the back. So explore how many ways can you look at one object. Maybe you just go outside and find another leaf. They sure are plentiful right now. And leaves can be fun too. Just we've already done leaves as a drawing assignment, but why not try to draw them? There we go for the back. And then I'm just going to shade this all in just to show the difference. It's almost an abstract looking at this dog from the back because his ears connect so much lower down. And I'm sure that has more to do with how they made the mold than it has to do with the idea of the Boston Terrier. And we'll just connect these in here. And then this was the white part of the head. It's pretty fast. And the idea is to be, for lack of a better term, very loose and scribbly, but it's to fill up the page, to try to get a whole sketch assignment that then you can go back later on and create a more controlled and finished drawing if that's what you want to do. So there you have what a Davinci inspired type of drawing exercise might encompass. We were looking at a cornucopic-like style of sketching, which involves many views of one object, or it could be many objects, and just kind of mixing them all up on a page. Sometimes, most times, artists will at least come up with a theme, and that theme might be something you would want to use for your drawing exercise. Anyway, the point of this, whether you're a beginner or an advanced artist, is to try to do something loose, to really just get those creative juices flowing and not worry about the outcome and kind of intuitively place things on a page. Here's my finished example. You can see there all the different views of the little Boston Terrier dog. You can also switch it up if you're so inclined and maybe do one in colored pencil. This was a series that I did for an apple before. So we have the core of the apple, an up view from the top, the side view, and then my colored pencil drawing of the apple. And this was just simply a swatch study of the colors I was using. While these things are not necessarily frameable art, although if I had a Davinci sketch, I think I'd frame it anyway, they are things that you can use to then have as a springboard to a finished product. And that's something we'll be looking at in our next episode of Anyone Can Draw, Paint, and Create. I hope everyone has a nice Thanksgiving holiday. I know I'm very thankful to be part of the Vincent Hall community, and I'm most thankful for everyone who comes down to the Art Center and has taken a chance on the classes. Until I see you next week, Vincent Hall, stay safe, be well, happy Thanksgiving 2020 style, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Anyone Can Draw, Paint, and Create.